Ian Sachs, Robert Buncardo, back here on the morning roast. Rob, 9:47. Got about 13 more minutes here on the air. Where do you want to go? You got the first 3 weeks of the MLB season. You have the first 3 days of the NBA playoffs. Either way is fine. We'll touch on both. But where do you want to go first?
Let's go New York Mets with their current winning streak because the team is in first place right now, rolling. But Ian, they might have just hit the brick in the wall because Travis d'Arnaud has out for 3 weeks with an injury, broken hand, and man, Ian, the kid was just on a tear this season, opening up the year with 2 home runs, 10 ribbies, batting .317, had an on-base percentage of .356 with 13 hits, 1 double, 1 triple. And I mean, this could be a big loss in the Mets right now. You know, they moved him up to the number 2 spot with David Wright being out with the pulled hamstring. The kid finally found his bat. I mean, when he was brought over to here during the R.A. Dickey trade with Toronto, he was more known for being a defensive specialist behind the plate. And, I mean, really struggled last year. Gets sent down to the minors, had his concussion injuries, and then really heated up last year to finish with 13 home runs, 41 RBIs. And this year you expected a big year out of him, and now just really ashamed to see him go down, especially with how hot the Mets have been.
Absolutely. The big thing that I was taking away from this hot streak was how great Travis d'Arnaud had been playing. And every day I do a sports update, and I send the top stories for WICR to all of our members so that people can read them on the air. And during this whole Mets streak, I would, because we're in New York, I obviously place an emphasis on the New York team, so the Mets have featured prominently, and especially with their winning streak. And it seemed like every day the first player that I had to mention was Travis d'Arnaud because of how great he had been playing. And really, when you look at this Mets team right now, we knew the pitching staff was going to be good. We knew they had the young guns of Harvey and DeGrom, and who knows when Syndergaard might join this team, and Bartolo Colon, the 45-year-old ace for the team, opening day starter and everything. And, so we knew that on the pitching side they'd be fine. The big concern was the lineup. And the job that d'Arnaud has done at the plate has been sensational. And really, I think he's the unsung hero of this Mets winning streak.
Oh, he most definitely is. And we look at this team, it's more been on their pitching. A lot has been put on their pitching to have bigger performances, but d'Arnaud has just had the hottest bat. We look back a year ago when they signed Curtis Granderson to that big contract. He's batting leadoff, and he's barely getting on base, batting about like 140 right now, really struggling. David Wright goes down with the injury, and who do you have to go to? You have to go to d'Arnaud. You need somebody in that lineup who's going to have that hot bat, and he's just been able to deal it on the table and knock in the ribbies, get on base, and definitely something the Mets need because I look at the Mets season this year, and I feel that one thing that they really are going to struggle with is hitting. I feel that a lot continue to fall on the pitching because that's what it's been the last couple of years for the New York Mets. We look back a couple of years with Matt Harvey, with Johan Santana. Guys really have to hold on to 1-0 leads. And now, with d'Arnaud gone, who do you go to now in the lineup? You have d'Arnaud's gone. You have Wright out of the lineup. Somebody has to step up and be the big boy at the plate. Curtis Granderson needs to start living up to signing that 4-year, $60 million contract to return to the guy who used to be able to hit 40 home runs at Yankee Stadium. I mean, at Yankee Stadium, though, he did have that short porch in right field where anything hit over there, the ball gets carried right over. But he has to start getting back to hitting well.
Okay, so now, do you like Granderson in the leadoff spot? If not, who do you move up there?
Lou Gehrig. I think Lou Gehrig is one of the players you have to move up there. He's a guy who gets on base. He's fast. Granderson doesn't get on base. And what you want from your leadoff hitter, the leadoff hitter leads the game. He makes sure I'm the first person on base because I'm the first person you got to knock in at runs. We look at Granderson's interview with Anthony Carlo a couple weeks ago. He did say how, you know what? When you bat lead up, you only bat up there once. You only start off batting off number one once in the lineup because during the game it progresses on. But you do have to get on base. And that's one thing that the Mets struggle with. Granderson doesn't get on base, and without a guy getting on base, setting the tempo for the game, you're not really going to excel.
And another thing is, yes, that's fine that you only say, so to speak, are set to lead off once, because with the way that the lineup goes and having people get on base and then getting outs and everything, so it's rare that you'll have 1, 2, 3 due up in an inning after the first inning.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's batting leadoff means that he's followed by the biggest bats in the Mets lineup. And when you have the biggest bats coming up, you want guys on base. So that's why it's so important for him to get on base. Not because of the first inning when he's leading off. If you don't score in the first inning, fine, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But it's because even if he bats second or third in an inning, he gets on base, he's followed by then the 2, 3, 4 hitters who are, so to speak, supposed to be the biggest bats, the best bats, your RBI producing batters, and if you don't have guys on base, it makes it that much harder for them to produce RBIs, because if they hit a double and nobody's on base, then it's a double. If they hit a double with 2 guys on, that's 2 runs.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when we say it really doesn't matter scoring in the first inning, though, I always remember with my dad, I used to coach Little League with him when we used to coach my brother's team. And we kind of used to, that was our way of winning. We would set the tempo by getting our runners on. That's how I like to start off the game. I like to mess with the pitcher's head early. I like to get that base runner on early. Just to start, you kind of get to the pitcher right away. Like, this kid's going to start stealing bases on you. That's what the leadoff batter's real job is. His job is to get the bases. And, I mean, that's what Granderson kind of has to find. Granderson has to find himself, first of all. And I think Granderson still has the talent to do it. He just has to start believing in himself more, because Granderson, he's a great ball player. I remember when he came up in Detroit, I used to hate him for what he used to do to the Yankees. He used to steal bases, get on base, used to hit doubles, triples. And now he has to find himself. I'm Curtis Granderson. I could do what I can with this New York Mets team. You're the leader right now. The torch was passed to you. When they signed you, that torch was, Granderson, you sign with this team. You're taking a leadership role. Yeah, you're behind Captain David Wright, but you have to help him out. And, I mean, the Mets need something, Ian, because, you know, at the end of the day, who do you really rely on? Michael Kadire. I love Michael Kadire. He's a great hitter. Won a batting crown a while back. But he's had his health problems, and that's a big killer. I mean, we look at another guy they're trying to get over right now, which is reports I keep hearing about, Starlin Castro, over the last couple of years, between him and Tulowitzki. But those are guys, Castro's, yeah, he's an all right hitter, but leading the league in errors over the last couple of years. Tulowitzki's another one with his injuries, and the Mets really need to find a bat that could stay constant. Look at Nelson Cruz. Did we really expect this coming with the Mariners? Because I really didn't see this happening whatsoever, especially at the ballpark he was playing with at Sefco Field. And the Mets just need somebody in the system who's going to continue hitting. That's the biggest problem over the last couple of years, because David Wright's not David Wright anymore. David Wright's not the guy who, going back in his early 20s, could put up 25 homers, 100 RBIs. He's a guy who now can only put up about 15 homers to 17 homers with about 70 RBIs, 80 RBIs.
You're 100% right, Rob. That's one of the problems with the Mets, and that's why the loss of d'Arnaud is so pivotal for this team, because when you look around the rest of their lineup, there are so many question marks, so many guys that you hope that they are doing well. Whereas d'Arnaud, with the way that he's been producing this year, you know he's going to do well. And they need another guy who you know is going to produce, because you're right. Wright is on the back end of his career. Kadire is well on the back end of his career. Granderson is not the same player and not fitting into that leadoff role. They need someone else to step up. Now, I very much like your take on Juan Lagares, but do you feel like he's a little too inexperienced?
I would say no. Juan's done it before in the past with the Mets. When he came up, he's done it before. So I think he already knows what tempo has to be set off to start with the games versus these other teams. I mean, there's other players in the lineup that have to change, though. Look at Daniel Murphy. And he started off, had such a great year last year. Now he's only batting about 160. He's a big problem with this team. But Juan Lugares, I feel, first of all, they signed him to that big extension, Ian. They just signed him to that extension. And let Juan do his job because he's a fan favorite because what he can do with his speed. That's the greatest part about Juan Lugares. He has so much speed, and he's someone that can get on base. And that's what the Mets need at this point.
Well, that's what you need in a leadoff hitter no matter what team you are.
Yeah.
You need someone with speed who can get on base.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly why he should step into that leadoff role. Now, Curtis Granderson is not a leadoff hitter.
No.
At all.
No, not whatsoever. With Detroit, yes. But then when he came to the Yankees, he became a power hitter where he could bat 3 or 4 in the lineup.
Well, you also have to look at it that, one, he was hitting in a depleted Yankees lineup.
Very
so
true.
that's one.
Mm-hmm.
And two, that was Yankee Stadium where it's a lot easier to hit home runs than Citi Field because the Citi Field fences are about 4 miles away from home plate, and that's with them moving it in 7 times. Because you also have to look very much at the ballpark. Granderson is not that power hitter he was with the Yankees anymore. So Granderson, I say, is maybe a 5, 6, 7 hitter that could be like a quote-unquote second leadoff hitter in the lineup, bury him, get the bottom half of the lineup going, get someone on base for those hitters.
Yeah, most definitely. I think I see Granderson, Ian, as a 7th hitter in the lineup, 7th or 8th. I mean, I hate to put a guy with his experience down that low, but in the bottom part of the lineups, the bottom tier, you need people who could hit as well, and I think Granderson might actually fit off well with that. Because if he starts hitting off right there, Ian, say he's batting 8, if he starts hitting over there, what if Juan Lugares starts getting on base too? And you have the 2 speeds like that on base, it ends up working out at the end of the day for this Mets team. Because you can't rely on pitching. Pitching, guys, I've seen it, and I hate to see it, guys like Johnny Cueto, guys like Felix Hernandez, who throughout their career have to pitch perfect. They have to go the distance, go 8 innings, and hold on to 1-run ball games. Can't even allow base runners on because they allow the base runner on, they're going to take the loss. And the Mets pitchers, you don't want that to happen. You need to put up runs. You need guys who are going to put up about 4 to 5 runs a game, and that's how you're going to win games.
Right, and that was the concern for the Mets at the beginning of the season, that their pitching is going to be fine, but where are they going to get their offense from?
Yeah.
And they've gotten their offense through the first 3 weeks of the season. That's why they're on. That's why they had an 8-game winning streak. That's why they're in first place in the NL East. That's why they're one of the top teams in the MLB right now.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, you wonder how long it's going to hold up. How long are their bats going to stay hot? How long is the pressure not going to be on the pitching staff? Because when you're scoring runs, there's so much less pressure on your pitchers. They could just go out there and pitch. They give up a hit. They give up a rally. They give up a home run. Fine. But when, as you said it, Rob, when your offense isn't hitting, they have to be perfect. And that's so much harder to be.
Almost definitely. I mean, with the Mets, Ian, yeah, you know what? They're on their big winning streak right now. But everything seems to, the last couple of years, let's go back to 07, 08. Everything collapsed, August and September. And now you look at it now where the Mets come off to hot starts, I would say, from about 2010 to now. And then everything kind of depletes by mid-June, mid-July. Everything seems to fall apart. They have to say definite now because you know what? The NL East has taken a beating, I would say. Except for the Washington Nationals. I mean, the Marlins could spend all the money in the world. Still will never put together a winning team. Atlanta Braves trade away all their pieces. I don't know what they're doing. They're rebuilding that whole team yet again to return to a team when they had Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones, John Smoltz, Greg Maddux, and Tom Glavine. They're trying to rebuild to a team like that. I mean, the only threat is the Washington Nationals because don't even count the Phillies in. The Phillies are God knows where right now on the radar. They're like a AAA team at this point, the way they play. But the New York Mets have to continue. And you know what? You have to be hot. Continue being hot. Because the Washington Nationals, Ian, they may not be off to the hottest start right now this year. They have the best pitching staff in baseball. And if their pitching staff continues to pitch unbelievable, I mean, if they get hot, they're going to be the last team you want to go against.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's why this is such a big spot for the Mets to capitalize on. Because, Rob, you touched on it. The other three teams, the Marlins, the Phillies, and the Braves, are having rebuilding years. They don't scare you. The only team that is at all very, very good and decent is the Washington Nationals. Mm-hmm. So that's why for the Mets, it's very not easy. I don't want to say anything in professional sports is easy, but it's very conceivable that they're the second best team in the division, and I think that they are the second best team. So that's why second best team. And with so many games against those division rivals, you beat up on the Braves, the Marlins, the Phillies, you could very well sneak your way into the playoffs. That's why the Mets right now cannot let this opportunity slip away. The Mets have been, the last few years have been in a building for the future mode. Well, you know what? The future is now. The Mets are finally starting to enter a win now situation. And the first 3 weeks of the season have shown that they can do that. They just have to keep that up and keep that mentality. No more building for next year. Because next year, who knows? You know, DeGrom could blow out his elbow, need Tommy John. Boom, there goes one of your top starters. Syndergaard could come up and struggle. So that's why the Mets need to capitalize this season.
Almost definitely. They have to. The time is now. Because you know what? The pitching staff is where it's at. The farm system has been built. The Mets fans have been dreading it since '06, when Carlos Beltran looked at a curveball right down the middle to end the NLCS. A lot of people probably argue with me about that, but he did look at a pitch right down the middle, and the Mets have been suffering. Haven't had a World Series championship since '86. Last time they were there was 2000, where the Yankees beat them. And now, this is the time. The time is now. You have the young pitching staff. Guide them to the championship. Bring it home, because New York has been waiting.
Yeah, and what a better time than when the Yankees are struggling. The Yankees are going to where the Mets were. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny to see that change in New York baseball. But, Rob, that is all the time that we have today. It's 10 o'clock, and we are going to sign off. Rob, always great doing the show with you, and should be a good week. Hopefully the Mets will continue to do what they've been doing and continue to be a very hot team in the MLB. And so, for all of us here at WICR, signing off from the Morning Roast, Big Shot Rob, Ian Sachs.